meteorological summer starts on Monday, the 1st of June. So after the exceptional heat this week, what does the first week of summer have in store? Well, through Sunday, we'll see a cold front push across the country, introducing significantly fresher air across the UK, which means daytime temperatures will fall much closer to average for the time of year, the high teens, low 20s, and nighttime temperatures will finally come down to something more comfortable. And then from then onwards, we see the jet stream return Atlantic mobility. It's slightly south shifted, so that means it will push low pressure systems down to the south, and then they're likely to move up from the south and west. So we'll likely see southwesterly winds, strong at times to be honest, through the first week of summer. But low pressure is set to dominate our weather, so that means quite a lot of rain, also quite a bit more cloud than we've seen lately, so not as much sunshine and quite a bit more rain, and that will limit how warm it's going to be. We've got Atlantic weather moving in, it's a cooler direction, not as much sunshine. Now you can see in between these systems there will be some drier periods, some drier interludes, but we're not looking at any prolonged dry weather throughout next week. Now, how wet is it going to be? Well, I think because we'll have southwesterly winds, much of the rainfall will be focused across western areas. So through this weekend, we'll start to see rainfall building up across the northwest. These are the 24-hour rainfall totals for each day from the weekend into the start of next week. And then on Sunday, a more showery picture pushes in to the west. Still eastern areas escaping much of the rain through Sunday, but then as summer begins, we'll start to see more of that showery rain push into the east, and on Tuesday perhaps more significantly. But I think it's more western areas that are going to see much needed rain, to be honest. It has been a very dry spring and some areas are in need of some rainfall, so it may be welcome. But it does mean that we'll see less of that hot and sunny weather than we've seen this week. So how warm is it going to be next week? Well, it's from Sunday when the temperatures really start to come down much closer to average. These are the maximum temperatures over the 4 days from Sunday onwards. And you can see we come closer to the low 20s in the southeast from Sunday. We're in the higher teens across the northwest, coming close to average. That's still just a touch above, to be honest with you. And then from Monday onwards, the maximum temperatures continue in that nature of the high teens, so 15 to 19 degrees will likely be the maximum temperatures. How about the minimum temperatures? Well, again, from Sunday, that's when we start to see that shift to much more comfortable nights. Still over the weekend, it's going to feel quite warm, but into next week, temperatures coming closer to 10 to 15 degrees across the UK. Now, there is perhaps a trend to slightly cooler temperatures than that towards the first weekend in June. You can see temperatures falling away a little bit into the first weekend of June. So what is the trend after that? Well, we could see temperatures coming below average throughout that weekend. It's the 5th, 6th of June. This is the trend on the ensemble, so we've got lots of different model runs. That's why there's multiple lines. There's quite high confidence across more southern areas in the spread of those temperatures, but you can see daytime temperatures will be coming closer to the mid-teens, possibly up to the higher teens on some days, but by the time we get to next weekend, it does look probably a little bit cooler than average. Some cooler nights to come as well. As we look further north, there's a similar trend, but perhaps a slightly lower confidence in the spread of the data. That all depends on where exactly the low pressure systems will be sitting, because low pressure is set to dominate our weather through the first week of June, the first week of meteorological summer, and this chart really summarises that. So blue colours show you that low pressure will be dominating the UK weather, be close to the UK. And from Monday the 1st of June, we've got this dark blue colour really dominating this probability plot. That's westerly winds, so our weather coming in from the west. From next weekend, from Saturday the 6th, we start to see a few different shades of blue moving in. Perhaps this darker blue, which is more of a northwesterly direction, a cooler direction, that could bring that slightly cooler than average weather. Or perhaps more of a southwesterly shift, which would mean that it actually would be a little bit drier and potentially warmer across more eastern areas. So as we head through the week, we get less confidence in exactly the position of that low pressure, but it is likely to dominate. So we'll continue to see that cooler, changeable weather, at least for the first week. How does that change beyond that? Well, you'll start to notice we see some new colours moving into the plot here. Some yellows, some oranges, some reds. That's the return of high pressure. And there is potential from mid-June onwards that we start to see high pressure returning to dominate our weather. But the different shades here show that there's different varieties in that high pressure. It could push up from the south, the Azores high. It could push in from the east, the Scandinavian high. And the position of any high pressure really does change where exactly we'll see any warmer and drier weather. But for the time being, I think for the first week of June, we can expect something much cooler, much wetter.